The single most impactful tip I found for Starfield is forward thrust for boost packs. Boost packs in Starfield have two fire modes, vertical flight and horizontal flight. By default, when you use the space or jump key to use your boost pack, it'll most often propel you upwards. But if you do go into settings and set up an alternative key for the jump button, such as quite literally using the Alt key, you'll find once hitting Alt, it'll make you jump, but then when holding it, it'll propel you forward. You can see here with the skip pack, when I hit the space bar, I am haphazardly thrown into the air. But when hitting the Alt key, I travel a much further distance forward. And this works with other jetpack types as well, like I'm using the balanced pack here, but it's definitely most handy when using this in tandem with a skip pack, and it honestly makes the skip pack one of the most valuable jetpacks in the game. Unfortunately, as of right now, this is not possible with a controller. For a variety of the electromagnetic weapons in Starfield, you could charge them up before firing to increase the EM damage dealt. This will deal notably more damage, and for many enemies, this means you can incapacitate them with just one shot, making EM weapons significantly more useful. As you're flying around in Starfield, you can destroy these floating space asteroids. Simply shoot them with your ship's weapons and they're going to drop some resources. And depending on which type of planet those asteroids are orbiting, different types of resources will drop. And if you're looking for something specific like iron or water, this is genuinely a good way to farm those resources relatively quickly. If you're constantly running into issues in the ship builder where a module is not attached, it's not allowing you to finish building your ship, there's a really easy way to find that module. Simply double click your ship and everything that is attached will highlight in red. So then you can easily identify the non-attached module, which is now not glowing red. And if you hover your cursor over a ship attachment point, then actually hit the button to attach a part, only the parts that can properly attach here will be shown, and you can much more easily navigate through the menus finding the right fit. In Starfield, there's going to be a variety of places to get ship parts. The space techs at major settlements will have some parts, but not all of them. For example, to get some of the most unique Nova Galactic parts, you'll need to head over to New Homestead on Titan in Seoul. And here you'll find a bunch of additional options for Nova Galactic. And this will apply to many of the ship manufacturers in-game. Head over to the Stroud Eklund Star Room in Neon, right on the main strip, to find their best parts, or the Teo showroom, also in Neon in the Ryujin Tower, to get their best parts. You can find some of the unique Deimos options on the Deimos Star Yard, which is orbiting Mars, or Hope Tech, who have these really nice small and compact landing gears, and you can find these in the Valo system on the planet Polvo. Each of these manufacturers have their own styles and strengths, but specifically, some of the biggest HABs available in the game can only be found at specific vendors. So if you are trying to create a truly giant spaceship, make sure you check out some of these locations. Although if you are looking for a more comprehensive one-stop shop for building your ship, the landing pad with ship builder that you can place at outposts will have a larger individual selection than most of the ship vendors in the game. This isn't quite comprehensive, it's not like every part will be available here, but over the course of the game, as you unlock additional parts, they will pop up here, and this menu will become even more populated over time, but even just from the start of the game, it definitely has the most options for just one vendor. In Starfield, you are able to run up to ship services to have them register a stolen ship for you, but this will almost always be more expensive than just doing it yourself, as alternatively, you can just open up your own spaceship menu and register the ship there. Seems like the formula being used when you access this from your own inventory is going to be more favorable with the price. Whether it be from a stray bullet or even just thievery, it's pretty easy to get a bounty in Starfield. But what you may have not known is it's also relatively easy to get rid of that bounty. Similar to how it worked in Skyrim, if you simply take out all of the witnesses to your crime, your bounty will be immediately cleared and reset, so you'll continue to be in good standing with that faction. Depending on your location, this can be easy or hard, but it is surprisingly doable most of the time. Starfield has a couple of secret companions that are tied to some of the major quest lines, such as after completing the United Colonies questline, you can recruit Hadrian to be your companion or crewmate. Funny enough, if you talk to her after finishing the questline, she will turn down your invitation to join.
You know I can't do that. I've got an assignment. But I'll never say no to a visit when you're in the area. Remind us all how much we owe you.
As instead, what you'll need to do to recruit her is, after completing the entire questline, return to Captain Tuala. You'll be able to talk to him a bit about your rewards, and for me, this alone was a surprise interaction as he had quite a few credits to give me for my accomplishments during the United Colonies questline, but he also offers you some more work, some of which involves tracking down more aliens. After getting that new quest, it'll task you with returning to Percival, who will direct you towards those new aliens and also recommend you bring Hadrian along with you, to which you get some new dialogue where she agrees to come out on an adventure instead of just staying in the lab. And from there, you'll have Hadrian as a companion or a crewmate, and in a combat encounter, she could be a true game changer. If you're trying to decorate your home with junk in Starfield, make note that you can move junk items more easily using the build mode. Once a junk item is in the world, simply move it in the build mode and you'll have a much easier time placing it without it having to interact with the rest of the world. Weapons in Starfield can spawn in 4 quality types: basic, calibrated, refined, and finally advanced for the best. These will have a major impact on your overall damage dealt, and it's something you can't edit yourself. You just have to find weapons with these various prefixes. Except, for whatever reason, the Equinox, Rattler, and Eon do not drop at advanced quality. So for those 3 weapons, the best version you could find will only ever be refined. As well as in the current build of the game at the time of filming, the laser skill in Starfield will benefit both the laser weapons and particle beam weapons, which is very notable as there is also a dedicated particle beam skill in game. So in particle beam weapons, you can stack both of these skills, getting damage bonuses from both the laser skill and the particle weapon skill. And with certain weapons, such as the Big Bang, which is a particle beam shotgun, things could become insane here, as this weapon can benefit from the laser, particle beam, and shotgun skills to give you huge damage bonuses. A widely talked about feature in Starfield is waiting to reset vendors. Typically after shopping at a vendor, simply wait 48 hours, and that vendor's inventory will be reset. But whenever these recommendations or that tip comes up, there's always a ton of comments saying I only needed to wait 24 hours. How this actually works is every 48 hours of universal time a vendor's inventory is reset. Universal time will pass differently depending on which planet you're on. So keep an eye on this number, as on some planets such as New Atlantis, you only need to wait 24 hours in local time, as that will be worth 48 hours of universal time. Conversely, on Aquila, you need to wait more like 36 hours for 48 hours of universal time to pass. In the past, we've talked about hitting the K key, so you can quickly and easily access your powers menu in Starfield. Although unfortunately, this hotkey is only available for keyboard and mouse users. There's no equivalent for a controller. But something that is also quite strong is you're able to favorite powers. So upon hitting the favorite key, that power will be equipped, and then you're able to activate it with the power button, which is Z on PC by default. This gives you the ability to use multiple powers in rapid succession, which can be very strong in combat, giving you some unique synergies that could really complement your build. And then we have a spoiler. There's one really dirty secret mechanic in Starfield, and this is a huge spoiler for the main story. Not some high-level thing, but no, a direct and major spoiler, so if you haven't beaten Starfield, please stop watching. But if you have beaten Starfield, remember when someone dies? This during that main story mission where the hunter attacks Constellation and the Eye, and you suddenly will have one of your favorite companions being dead. And yes, this actually is one of your favorite companions, because one of the shockingly evil design decisions is that the NPC that dies here is whoever you had the best relationship with. Bethesda specifically picks the NPC you had the most affinity with at this point in the game, which just feels particularly messed up in a good way, in a dark and depressing way. But I noticed a lot of users didn't even realize this, that yeah, from one playthrough to another, who dies will change. And of course, this will also apply to who returns towards the end of the game as a Starborn. I think for many players, they have Sarah Morgan occupying this role, and it just seems like it'd always be Sarah Morgan. She's the leader of Constellation. It makes total sense for her to die and come back as a Starborn. But no, in reality, that's just because you were playing a lot with Sarah Morgan, and it can be any of the main 4 Constellation members who perishes during this quest. But with that in mind, if you're looking for even more hidden features in Starfield, check out this video where I show you about 20 more.